Xenonauts is updated to version 18. Once all the major issues and game-stopping bugs are fixed, then it'll be the first beta version. So I'm gonna give it a shot. I'll see how stable it is. I will go over this stuff real quick though. There are some new features and improvements, bug fixes, and balance changes. But I'll take a poke and a prod and see how stable it is, and if it seems to work relatively okay, then I'll go ahead and start up a long play, so keep an eye out for that. As usual, the links will be in the description. If you don't want to hear me talk, feel free to click those, head there, read it yourself, that's fine. Chris does make note here that even if version 18 becomes the beta, that doesn't mean that the game will be finished. It'll have a start, it'll have an end, but it won't be balanced, and there might still be some placeholder art. But the focus is less on features and more on making it balanced and fun to play, which that's okay with me. When I was doing the long play earlier, there were a ton of placeholders and stuff like that, so assuming the game's stable, it doesn't crash every 10 minutes or anything like that, I think we'll be okay. Standalones are available on Desura here. There's a link on their site that just leads to the Xenonauts page on Desura. I have a link to that on my description as well. The sidebar on the right, you can click the link there and download it, presuming you've bought the game. Once version 18 is confirmed not to have any game-breaking bugs, so roll it out onto the Desura Auto Updater, which I use the standalones all the time. Desura Auto Updater kind of buckles unless his archiving system is working, which I'm not sure if that's still in there. I'm sure it'll be somewhere down below if it is working. And at the same time, we'll send it off to be ported to Mac and Linux by our porter. Again, that's after version 18 is confirmed not to have any bugs. So basically, version 18 is a standalone, and 17.9 is still available for download. So if you're looking for something stable, check out 17.91. Version 18 is just kind of there for the people who want to try out a release candidate for beta. Moving on to the new features and improvements, he's added about 20 more maps. There will be more added, but this will mean that the early game is nice and varied, and there shouldn't be any more crashes due to missing maps. Also, when you shoot a target in ground combat, projectile path is now shown along with a stopping chance of intervening obstacles. This should make the factors affecting a shot more obvious. That sounds intriguing. If I'm understanding that right, it almost seems like something that maybe on the lower difficulties, it'd show you like the percentage of a stopping chance, whereas on the higher difficulties, maybe it doesn't. You know, maybe on the higher difficulties, it's up to you to figure out whether or not you've got a good shot or not. I don't know, I'll look into that though. All the final landed art for the UFOs and crashed art for all the UFOs up to the landing ship are complete. One of the later UFOs still needs a painted floor and interior added, which will come in the next update. To make the early game less reliant on blind luck, there are now 2 crash sites auto-generated in the first 2 weeks. A Kaizen and Civilian Light Scout. I'm still not sure whether or not it's Kaizen or Season. Somebody said it's a bit like Caesar, but Caesar can be pronounced as Caesar or Kaiser, so that actually didn't help that much. Is it more of a S sound or a K sound? I don't know, I'll probably go with Kaizen for now. There have been a lot of complaints about unrealistic bullet deviation over the past few months. He's improved this a bit. Let him know if it works better for you, but the main purpose of this fix was to actually stop missed shots from having insufficient deviation to actually miss the target and end up hitting them anyway. Missed shots are now unable to hit the target. I think that's referring to like the 0% chance to hit shots that would hit anyway. I remember I'd always take the shot no matter what when I was doing the long play a while back. And yeah, when it was 0% chance, you still had a chance of hitting the guy, and glad that's sorted. Some more AI improvements in general. The biggest improvement is to the Reapers. They don't mill around uselessly anymore. They now properly try and eat civilians and Xenonauts. Now, I haven't actually looked into the new aliens. When I do this long play, it'll, for all intents and purposes, be blind. I think I know what the Reapers look like, but I don't really know what they do. When he says eat, I think of tentaculates, or what were they called in UFO defense? Chrysalids. Ooh. I know there's something similar to a chrysalid in this game, so maybe that's the Reapers. Not looking forward to that. The final mission has been added in its blocked out state. You can play it if you want, but personally, I would wait. It's not been balanced, and the briefing screen explaining what you're meant to do hasn't yet been added. A few more pieces of research art have been added to the Xenopedia, or Xenopedia, whichever. There's still plenty of missing images, but it is filling up. And finally, A333 has delved into the horrors of our engines and managed to fix up our fonts so they now display Unicode characters, which will allow the game to be translated into other languages. Always a good thing there. As far as bug fixes go, Light Scout UFOs should no longer spawn without crews. There was a hotfix that was posted on the forums about that shortly after 17.91. There was, I believe, a splash screen fix and then the empty UFO fix. So now that has been properly introduced into the game. Large props no longer appear black on night missions. Soldier equipment no longer vanishes when the soldier is wounded. Ugh. Soldier hiring pool being empty bug is now fixed. Geoscape notifications no longer vanish if the crash site times out. Projectile impact sprites are now correctly visible on props and units rather than just on the ground. Hay bales and crates should no longer appear inside the Chinook. Whoa. Corvettes should no longer give you millions of dollars. Jesus. It should actually be fixed now. I guess that's been a recurring issue. You can no longer see through the doors of UFOs. Pressing escape on the soldier hiring pool window no longer causes a crash. Alien corpses should display correctly in most cases rather than displaying a Xenonaut corpse. Reaper Autopsy Project has been connected up properly. Civilian guards no longer suffer from dwarfism. I guess they were really shrunk down. When you load a save game, the game no longer notifies you about every workshop project you've unlocked. Moving on to some balance changes, this is mostly about the research tree and progression being simplified. First off, autopsies no longer take up research time. They pop up automatically after mission, but no longer give a damage bonus. Previously, I think it was a 5% or maybe even, I think it was 5%. I don't think it was 10%. It was like a 5% damage bonus granted when you researched an autopsy, and I like the thought of being rewarded for researching something kind of pointless, I guess, for going out of the way to do the research, but at the same time, I don't feel like a game needs to reward you for every little thing you do, so I'm kind of, I can see that either way. There is now a single explosives research for each tier that unlocks the aircraft heavy missile, the aircraft light missile, the infantry rocket, and the infantry grenade. So you just research explosives, and that unlocks a variety of explosives. That makes sense. When researched, missiles, aircraft and infantry, and grenades are now available in unlimited quantities. Advanced ammunition no longer costs elenium, just money. We've removed one of the interceptors from the game as we had more researchable interceptors than we did weapon tiers, and had 8 researchable aircraft in all. That is a lot of aircraft. We scrapped the Dreadnought UFO. The battleship is already enormous, and we didn't realistically think we could make larger in-game maps. Aw, that's unfortunate. I saw the picture of the Dreadnought in the assets folder, and that thing really is goddamn ginormous. If you want to discuss these changes, this is the thread to do it in. There's a link there. I'll create a link in the description for you as well. Hunter rocket turret is researchable as soon as you've built the Hunter. Jackal armor now costs $30,000. Corsair requires far less alien alloys than before. Advanced aircraft weapons now only improve damage. Like-for-like replacements are otherwise identical as you go up through the tiers. This is just to stop air combat from getting over complex. Laser weapons have had a damage buff because previously they were worse than ballistics. Amount of alien alloys per crash site increased somewhat. It is also worth noting what we are still working on for this build and still needs to be added before it can be considered beta. Once the shape of the tech tree is more settled, he'll add the Xenopedia text for projects that do not have it. It's chopping and changing quite a bit at the moment, so it's a bit out of date in places too. He needs to replace function for the research tree, as when new unlimited weapons are unlocked, you still have to manually rearm all your troops and aircraft. If an item is like for like swap with increased damage and unlimited quantity, it should be done automatically. He's been seeing invisible civilians on some terror sites again. He'll try to find that bug and kill it, though repro seems hard. Not sure what repro is. There's a bug where manufactured weapons are duplicated if you drag them to an invalid location in the soldier equip screen. There's a lot of very aggressive UFOs in the game at the moment. We'll make it only so the air superiority alien missions will actively engage your aircraft, as it's happening too much at the moment. Seems some are still getting the launcher startup crash. We'll try to fix this, but there's now a launcher fix batch file in the game directory that will run the launcher without a video. If people complain about the launcher crash issue in the meantime, please direct them to that. And for comments about the beta plans in general, see this thread. Version 18 marks a semi-official beginning of beta on the project. As stated in the version 18 thread, this doesn't mean the game is finished, but rather that it is possible to play the game from start to finish, and he doesn't have any more integral features left to code. Instead, focus is shifted to improving the usability, stability, and tweaking the design to make the game as fun as possible. For those of you looking to help out with the beta, there are going to be special beta sub-forum threads for geoscape balance, ground combat balance, missing animations, missing text strings, and missing sounds. So if you have an issue with any of those, do go to those sub-forums and post it. There's also going to be a fresh set of sub-forums with each build, so you don't have to worry about assuming that it's a known issue and not reporting it. Just go ahead and post it, and it'll be swapped around. Again, there's going to be a link to this thread in the description as well. So with all that done and said, I'm going to go and give version 18 a poke and a peek, and if it seems stable enough, then I'll start a long play on it. So keep an eye out in the very near future. It's actually probably already up if you're watching this. The first episode to that. Again, if you do check it out, keep in mind it's effectively a blind playthrough because I haven't been able to play this game very much at all. I've been following it through the updates, but haven't actually been able to play it for an extended period of time. So a lot of things like the research path, tech trees, alien types, vehicles, armors, I don't know anything about those.